Welcome to Financial Issues, where we join reality with truth, helping you make the most of your money by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Welcome to Financial Issues. We're so glad that you tuned in today. Here at Financial Issues, we are a stewardship ministry, and we help you make the most of your financial decisions and help you be a good steward because we believe that God owns everything, and we just get to manage some things while we're here. So it's our goal to build you up and to educate you and to help you learn how to best honor God with the stewardship decisions that you have to make. Well, today we're going to take a look at the controversial topic of Social Security and the sort of uncertain future surrounding it. We'll even have my friend Jason MacDowell come in later in the show today to talk about some claiming strategies and some basic things about Social Security to help you out. We will also hear from Joel Noble with Samaritan Ministries about how you can be a good steward with your health care decisions, and we'll also get to some of your questions later in the show. Our stewardship verse today comes from 2 Thessalonians 3:12. Now those who are such, we command and exhort through our Lord Jesus Christ that they work in quietness and eat their own bread. A little bit confusing if you take it out of context, but hopefully you've read the whole chapter there. But we were made to work and to be active. The first thing that God did when he put Adam and Eve in the garden was to give them a job. He gave them the job of tending the garden and naming the animals and those kind of things. God gives us the ability to work, and because of reaping and sowing, that work typically produces an income. Idleness often leads to sin because we have to expend the energy that God gave us on something. And if we don't have work to do, then we're busy doing something that we probably shouldn't be doing. But this scripture is an admonishment for those not working and instead relying on the church to feed them. Working is positively correlated to having income. That means that most of the time when you work, you get an income for doing so. God never intended, in my opinion, for the government to take care of his people. That is his job, and he gladly does it, and he easily does it. And he expects us to participate in the process of generating income for our own food as an act of stewarding the gifts and abilities that we've been given. What do you think, Sam?
I love that, Shana. That's great stuff. And by the way, folks, please don't be alarmed. I am still here, but I'm at my old stomping grounds once again, Shana, the audio board. A little light on the crew today. But, it was interesting. I saw one of our favorite old quotes from Ronald Reagan on a bumper sticker, I think it was, those 9 scariest words, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It's good that we can rely on God and not on the government for the things that we need, Shana. I love that. So kind of leads to our topic of the day here, Shana. As you mentioned, Social Security, controversial topic, especially in our political climate today. And, it's growing more and more important. Just some quick facts about this, Shana. I'm sure you know this, but for some of our audience, it was signed into law by FDR in 1935, the Social Security Act, to basically offer financial assistance to senior citizens. So in 1940, the average life expectancy of a 65-year-old was 14 years. Today, it's over 20 years. Now, that's a good thing. It's a good thing people are living longer. But it does complicate the issue when you consider the growing number of people that will need Social Security. And just in the last few years, there's been roughly 2.8 workers for each Social Security beneficiary. By 2035, there will only be 2.2. 9 out of 10 people over 65 receive some form of Social Security benefits. So considering this large number of baby boomers, Shana, expected to retire in the next few years, the future of Social Security is kind of uncertain. What's your opinion, just to start, of Social Security? Is it a good thing? Is it helpful for our elderly? Or is this government overreach? Once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, we can't go back in time, but, it's probably a program that never should have existed. But, Social Security is not really, it's an entitlement because you are forced to participate in the government-run retirement program called Social Security. You have money taken out of your paycheck. Your employer has to pay into it. And, you get an income stream later in life. But, it's not a welfare program unless you or your spouse or a prematurely deceased parent actually never paid into it. Then it's more of a social assistance program than it is an entitlement program.
Right.
But it is a return on the portion of money that we are forced to compulsorily invest while we're working. Every good crisis presents an opportunity for people to look for a quote unquote savior. And that's what was happening when Social Security was created. We had just been through the Great Depression, and, there was a huge outcry by the people. And, that just set the stage for someone to step up and say, I've got an idea, and we're with the government. We're here to help.
Yikes. Yep.
So while we should be looking for the Savior, the crisis that would drive us to Jesus Christ is often cut short by earthly saviors who step up and save the day. So, rather than having the government in control of managing the nation's retirement savings, since they've proven that they can't even manage their way out of a paper bag or manage their lunch money. Those were favorite sayings of our founder, Dan Celia. And the fact that they have managed to get we the people way in over our heads to the tune of $35 trillion in national debt because they can't even balance a checkbook, much less put together and adopt a real budget. So rather than allowing the government to have that much control, individuals should have been educated and put in control of their own savings. But I guess it's sort of unproductive to discuss what should have been.
Sure, that makes sense. So, Shana, as we're considering what to do with this, should we consider Social Security as our primary source of income post-retirement, or is it only meant to be supplemental? Is it meant to come alongside other things? Yeah. And how much emphasis should we put on the support of Social Security for our retirement?
Yeah, I certainly hope that, the people of God are not currently in the case right now or ever plan to be on a case where you're relying on the government for 100% of your income. So, you might have a choice if you're quickly approaching retirement, haven't been diligent about creating and growing your own nest egg. You might not have a choice that other than to rely on Social Security. However, if Social Security is your only source of income and you're at that retirement age, I would suggest delaying the start of it until you've reached the highest possible benefit. So that's by waiting until age 70 for most people. And if Social Security is going to be your only source of income, I would consider working as long as humanly possible, even after starting Social Security, because I don't think that inflation is going to stop, and I don't think that politicians will get any more fiscally conservative or fiscally responsible. If you're under 50 to 55, I wouldn't count on it at all. I'm not saying that you're not going to get any benefit, but I wouldn't count on it when you're putting together your own retirement plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a final question here before we finish this segment, Shana. So if we're in that position where we do choose to take Social Security benefits when we retire and we're okay with that, what are some things we should consider as we do it?
Well, yeah, you don't make these decisions in a vacuum. We'll probably get to more of this later in the show in different claiming strategies.
Yeah.
But, you want to consider the big picture. You want to consider, what are your other sources of income? How much money have you saved? What are the tax implications going to be in and around your decision to take Social Security or take money out of a retirement plan like a 401k or an IRA? Do you have a pension? Do you have rental income? There's a lot of things to consider. And, if you're married, what is your decision for Social Security? What kind of impact is that going to have on your spouse? Because it definitely could. Determining when you take Social Security might have a huge impact on the income that your surviving spouse, should you go first, would get for the rest of their lives. So there's lots of things to consider. And like I said, later in the show, we're going to have our friend Jason MacDowell back, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into some of those things.
Yeah, that'll be good stuff, Shana. I'm looking forward to having Jason on later on in the program today. But thank you for that. That's helpful. And especially, for us, I mean, we're both not quite at the age where we're going to take Social Security yet, but it's good to start thinking about these things now, never
Absolutely.
too early. Yep.
And, I'll say this. If you're a partner, we're having a partner conference call this week. Look for an alert to come out, or you'll be able to find that information up on the website. And if you're a partner, I hope you're in the habit of checking the commentary weekly. Check it out a little bit later today or by sometime tomorrow to see the commentary that we share with the partners. We got to take a break right now, but we're going to be back with more financial issues right after this.
When I took the test, I knew that I had other options. I was really scared. I know that it's really easy to get an abortion in New York. I've been down the other road before, and it really was a negative experience for me. And it felt like I did it because it made things easier for my partner at the time. And this time I thought, I think I want a different story. I'm just really scared. And she said, we'll take it a page at a time. It felt scary, but it felt like a good thing. I'm gonna have to, if I have this baby, I'm gonna have to do it alone, and that's gonna be really challenging. But I wanted to do it. But I knew that I needed help, and to get around people that would help me, not people who would say, this is a problem that we can make go away. More like, this is awesome, and we can help you make it more awesome.
How is Timothy Plan continuing to lead the fight as you guys now enter your fourth decade of leading this fight of biblically responsible investing?
We've been too silent for too long, and we can no longer be silent. You stand up, like Ronald Reagan said, we're only one generation away from losing all of our liberty. Yeah. It has to be fought for. I wish it didn't. And you can fight for it. You don't need guns and ammunition and that. You can fight for it, especially with your dollars, because it's always about the money. And when the money starts impacting people, they start paying attention. When we launched this, they said it couldn't be done, but here we are 30 years later. They said you couldn't get competitive returns, but here we are.
What a tremendous testament of God's grace.
Go to financialissues.org/Timothy Plans to learn more about Timothy Plan.
Welcome back to Financial Issues. We're so glad that you joined us here today. Well, employer health care costs are expected to jump 9% in the next year. I mean, are any of us really surprised with, inflation as it has been, with healthcare being, the leader of high inflation for a really long time, more than just in recent history. According to an article that I read, employer health care costs are expected to go up 9% in 2025 to more than $16,000 per employee, according to a new study. This is significantly higher than the 6.5% increase in the employer health care budgets that companies have put forward. So, prescription drug prices have risen by nearly 40% over the last decade. And continue to surpass the rate of inflation every single year. A 65-year-old today that retires today will likely spend $165,000 on average in health care, according to this report as well. So I have brought my friend Joel Noble. He is the Director of Public Policy for Samaritan Ministries. And we brought him on because his specialty is really in this healthcare field and how to be a good steward of our healthcare. What we do here at the ministry is for our health plan for the employees of the ministry is we use Samaritan Ministries, and we do health sharing. And so Joel's here today. Thanks for being here, Joel. Welcome.
I appreciate you having me.
Yep, absolutely. Well, you're sort of the public policy expert on all of this. So, in light of all of the things that I just said about, costs going up again, tell us your opinion. Why do we see these spikes in healthcare costs, and what's the logical solution?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the main issues is healthcare, unfortunately, is one area of our life where we don't normally have control over what we're buying. It's your employer. As you said, the employer cost is going up, or you're getting it through the government. So it's the one part of our life where you're buying something, but you don't really have control over it, or actually you're not buying it. Your employer's buying it for you, or the government is providing it, and you don't really have skin in the game. And that drives costs way up. There's really no other aspect of our life to where we don't have that type of choice. And that's actually why I really love healthcare sharing like Samaritan, because I have choice. I have choice in my providers. I have choice in who I see, what kind of treatment I have. And so then I can make choices with my healthcare dollars. And if I had my employer controlling that, I wouldn't have that choice. And we see costs rise because the actual end user is not the one that's actually making these type of choices.
Higher quality, flexibility. Anytime that we go for a more quality type of product, we're used to paying more for it. And if this study is projecting cost per employee to be around $16,000, do you have any kind of general numbers about where Samaritan falls in that premium range?
Yeah. So depending on your age in the program in Samaritan, we have a couple different programs, and then also age. It's anywhere from $100 for a single person up to $600 or close to $700 for a large family in our classic program. So in that sense, less than half of what folks are now paying for health insurance. And so not only do you have that flexibility, you have that choice, you have the affordability.
That's good. So I don't know if you guys picked up on that, folks, but, almost half the cost of what they're projecting companies are going to be paying for their employees, more flexibility, more options. So I hope that you will, this is definitely getting your attention, and you're going to start looking around. Well, Joel, do you expect organizations like Samaritan Ministries to offer, or which offer various levels of protection for patients, to grow as we see all of these spiking costs? If indeed the new cost for companies insuring their employees is $16,000 a year, do you see, what do you see with Samaritans as far as growth, and are you prepared for it?
Yeah. So, we've seen growth over the years. There's been a point where we've kind of plateaued, and all the healthcare sharing ministries have. Part of that reason is that the subsidies that are behind these plans, especially on the exchange, keep increasing, and even to the point of falsely increasing. I saw a study just a few months ago to where they found that brokers were having folks enroll in the exchange and falsifying their income so they could get these subsidies. And not only does that then give the brokers a higher commission, then it raises that uninsured rate, which is something that they're always chasing. They want the uninsured rate to be low. For whatever, and I understand health insurance is important to a lot of people, but they're trying to make it artificially lower than it really needs to be, and they're falsifying income in a lot of ways to do that. So as the subsidies increase, then we may not see the growth because folks are still chasing after insurance. But eventually that's got to, come to a head, and, either that's going to be reformed, or there's going to be, action taken by, attorney generals or even the federal government to stop this falsifying and this fraud that's going on in enrollment. And so also we saw a lot of folks coming off of Medicaid after the pandemic because they weren't allowed to drop them off of Medicaid. And as folks are coming off of Medicaid, we want to be there as an option, for especially as low income. Last time I looked, and we did a study, about half of our members were below 10% of the poverty line. So we're a great option for those in the lower income bracket also.
Well, yeah, I'm just still stuck on that income fraud. You mean
Yes.
people in this country cheat?
Yeah, it's like Casablanca. I'm shocked that gambling's going on in this establishment. But yes, they do.
Well, speaking of cheating, in case you haven't heard, we will be electing a new president in short order, in just a few short months. So, I know that you're the director of public policy, and the policies of either a Trump administration or a Harris administration might look really different. Can you tell us, are you anticipating any major changes or any bumps in the road if there is a Harris versus a Trump administration?
Yeah, so we're always keeping an eye out, especially for more like public option or government-run programs. Obviously, that type of thing would have the most impact on us if we went to like a nationalized system. But that has been a concern for, the 30 years that we've been in existence. I mean, that pops up, every few campaign cycles. And it's something we'd obviously concerned about, but we also can look at other countries, look at Canada especially, and see how that works. And we believe that we would still be a needed factor within society as folks realize that, in a national system, they're probably not going to get care very quickly, and they will probably, most likely, a lot of them go out of that system. So there'd still be this market for folks helping each other with medical bills, as most likely a national system wouldn't work. It's also hard to tell because at least one candidate, it's really unclear what their policies are, and it changes kind of day to day. So until they're actually in office and, start to make policies, it's kind of hard to plan what would come. And also, I'm kind of a limited government person, so we also got to look at Congress and what happens there. It's very likely there could be gridlock for 4 years, which again, as a small government person, doesn't really hurt my feelings too much for the government not to do anything at all. So that's a possibility too.
Exactly. Well, we have a new audience. We're growing the financial issues family, and some people may be hearing about Samaritan Ministries for the first time. So can you just break down kind of the basics, like what is Samaritans, what is the offering, and how does it help them?
Yeah. So we're a biblical alternative to health insurance. And so what it is member-to-member sharing in medical needs. And in the past, I always use my family as an example. When we've had medical needs, I submit those bills directly to Samaritan. They process it, and then they assign other members to send their monthly share. And that share is a fixed amount based on your family size and the program you're in. And so I know as a sending member, so my family shares $382. So I'm going to write a check or maybe, use a electronic system if the other person's set up that way to send directly to them. And I know what medical need they have. I know how I'm praying for them. And I send that check directly to them. They use my check and others to pay their medical bills. And the same way when we've had medical needs, I think I mentioned on previous shows, my son had an ACL tear. He was a college athlete. So over the last probably 6 months, we've been dealing with about $65,000 of medical needs between surgery and physical therapy. And the checks just come in each month as I turn in bills. And I've been paid his surgeon off a while ago. And then I'm just, each month paying that physical therapist for those bills.
Great. Thanks for being with us today, Joel. We really appreciate it. And folks, you know, Samaritans is the ministry that we use here at Financial Issues for the needs for our health sharing needs. And, you know, it really is. I've been using for health sharing for a long time, and it really is as easy as Joel said. So we hope that you will go to financialissues.org, click on the Samaritan Ministries banner, and you can get right over to their website and find out how this could be a good solution for your healthcare needs. Well, folks, if you are listening on an outlet that carries the short version of the show, we have to wish you a farewell today. But we have a phone app. You can, whether you're Apple or Android, you can go and download the phone app, and then you can get all of the episodes of the show, current and past, and you can listen to them when it's convenient for you. We hope that you will find out more about our ministry and how we can help you be a good steward with all that God has trusted you with by going to financialissues.org. Stay tuned for the rest of you. We'll be back. Hi, this is Shana Bird, the host of Financial Issues. Financial Issues family is so blessed to have saved tens of thousands of babies, all thanks to the generous support of you, our listeners and viewers. For $140, you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds. Please go to preborn.org, that's preborn.org, or financialissues.org and click on the preborn logo. Save a baby, save a life.
Here at FISM News, our mission is to provide you with news from a source you can trust.
The news is a constant reminder that this world is not our home. It is marred by sin, resulting in wars, brokenness, and divisiveness.
Jesus promised that he will return soon to judge sin and make all things new.
Until then, we place our hope in him.
This is the good news, the most important truth we feel compelled to share.
Remember the good old days when companies stuck to just selling their products rather than using their profits to push an agenda? When you invest in a company, you become an owner of that company. And more businesses are now using your money to fund woke projects. We're called to be good stewards of all we have, and that includes ensuring your investments align with your biblical values. Thankfully, that's where Financial Issues can help. For over 25 years, Financial Issues has stood as a leader of biblically responsible investing, encouraging the body of Christ to keep funds out of companies that dishonor God. We provide Christian investors with the tools they need to build fiscally and biblically responsible portfolios. We're at the forefront of the fight, helping you not only with your finances, but advocating for truth and godly wisdom.
For more information, go to financialissues.org. That's financialissues.org.
Initially, when we became members, I thought, what if this doesn't work? I mean, we're going to give up this whole concept of insurance, and we're going to trust God and his people. And it was like, yeah, well, of course. I'm going to trust an insurance company to come through for me, or I'm going to trust the church to come through for me. And that's a no-brainer. I love getting the monthly share that I give to each month that has the name of a real person and their real medical concerns and a prayer request, for them. If I have a need, I know I can go get care. I can see the providers I want to see. I don't have to worry if they're in my network. And if we need medical care, Samaritan is there.
A community of Christians paying one another's medical bills. For more information, go to financialissues.org and click the Samaritan Ministries banner.
Securities offered through G.A. Reppel & Company, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC. Opinions expressed by Shana are hers alone and are for informational purposes only and do not necessarily represent those of G.A. Reppel or the outlet on which you are listening. You should consider how the information applies to your situation prior to personally implementing it and consult any financial professional you work with to make sure it's applicable to your financial plan.
Welcome back to Financial Issues. We're so glad that you're joining us today. Well, Social Security is a frequent topic of interest on this show. And as we discussed earlier in the show, Social Security is not really an entitlement in the sense that you get it because you live in our country or you're part of our society, regardless of whether you got here legally or not. It is supposed to be a stream of income that you are entitled to receive because you compulsorily paid into a retirement plan managed by our government. And our government has not done, would probably not win the title for Financial Advisor of the Year or Retirement Plan Manager of the Year. According to government projections, the trust fund, the Social Security Trust Fund, reserves that are used to paid beneficiaries of the Social Security program are projected by the government to become insolvent in the year 2035. So, you know, let's not go down that rabbit trail, but let's kind of start with the basics. And I brought my friend Jason MacDowell and my colleague Jason because we deal with a lot of this in private practice. Social Security is is part of a retirement plan for most people that are either in retirement now or that will be retiring soon. So let's just start with the basics, Jason. And thanks for being here. But how is Social Security actually calculated?
So what Social Security does is it takes the top 35 earning years in your earnings history. So no matter what, that's really in your benefit that way to calculate the personal insurance amount at the time of claiming. In order to qualify for Social Security, you need at least 40 credits. That's roughly about 10 years of work history in your past. Even if you stopped working, maybe you're stay-at-home mom, maybe if there was at least 10 years in there, then you should qualify at least for the individual that way.
Good. And, you know, there's all of these different ages. Some people start at 62, some people start at 63 and some change. There's 65, there's 67. Can you kind of touch on all of those different options?
Yeah, so the popular ones, of course, is early, and that starts at age 62. And then there's a full retirement age. So that really depends on when you were born. So the birth dates are very key here. If you were born at 1960 and after, then your full retirement age is going to be 67. But if you were born before that age, then it's going to be roughly 66 in some months. Depends on how far from 1960 you were born before that. So that's called full retirement age. There's another one called delayed. It's not always age 70. It technically is the period of time between full retirement age of the individual all the way to age 70. So there's delayed years within that. And within those delayed years, you're able to earn credits, delayed credits. So technically they accrue monthly after your full retirement age, but we look at it from a year basis. So if you waited from your full retirement year to a year after that, you can get one delayed credit during that time. And that's measured in about a 8% additional monthly benefit for each year that you delay all the way up to age 70.
8%, that's a pretty good return. And I think that's sort of the underlying argument why you'll hear us, you know, encourage people to wait a lot. And, you know, that advice to wait seems to sort of go against the grain in the advice that most people hear about Social Security and in their, you know, I think natural tendency to try to get it as soon as they can. And, you know, many people argue that taking it early might be the only way to get back everything that you've paid in, and they've crunched the numbers and they, you know, they have all the data to prove it, you know, and they plan on, you know, they don't really need the income, but they're going to invest that money and, you know, have it grow and things like that. But, you know, what are some reasons to really think twice about taking it early?
Yeah, there's definitely a few reasons. I like to say, you know, a good, I think the Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries strategy to wait as long as you individually can is a good fit for everybody to maximize that amount. So the issues with early, so that's going to be defined from age 62 to the full retirement age. What happens first is when you claim early, there is a reduction to your full retirement benefits. You can actually see in your statements now today on SSA.gov, which is Social Security Administration.gov. You're able to pull your statement at any age, really. I'm 37, I can pull my statement there. So when you look at it, you can see that there's a reduction from your full retirement age. So that's one reduction to your monthly amount. Social Security is an income. It's we like to look at it as, hey, we don't need to use the portfolio to provide a return so that they can supplement to meet their expenses in retirement. It's a benefit in the sense of its income. So we look at it as a income source that is just paid out here, of course, through this program. So reducing it because you claimed early in the early years before full retirement age. But there's another reason behind that, that if you're 62 and you wanted to claim it as a self-entitlement right, hey, I want to take mine now. You know, I'm 63. I just want to claim it. Well, are you still working? Yes, I'm still working. Well, there's something called a earnings test that will be applied to your earnings for that year against your Social Security. So you'll have 2 reductions in benefits, and it can massively reduce. So what happens when you claim that early, you have a period of time to stop that, but normally that passes before you find out that, hey, I got to wait until I'm age 60, you know, whatever your full retirement age is, and you kind of get locked in there. So you have those 2 reductions that could happen. Third part is you could hurt the survivor benefits of a surviving spouse as well in the future, because it will reduce the amount that your surviving spouse will need in case that you, normally the husband, mortality tables say that we'll pass before our wives. That could also affect it as well. So there's some reasons why to wait at least till full retirement age, because those reductions can hurt the household over, you know, retirement period.
And I would say that's probably the most common thing that we come up against whenever we're working with clients is, you know, you don't make these choices for Social Security in a vacuum. You have to really consider the bigger financial picture and, you know, whether you have a spouse, what their earnings were, if, you know, if the calculation for them getting half of the higher earners benefit is going to be better than them getting their own. You know, there's so many things to consider, and there's really, you know, there's no cookie cutter methods for determining the best strategy. You know, we can kind of say in general, like more times than not, we encourage people to wait, but there are some times when we haven't encouraged people to wait because the numbers just didn't work out as good. So, you know, Jason, talk about what if, for example, you have a couple who has a gap in age, like one is a good bit older than the other, or if one person has significantly made more money than the other one. Maybe it was a wife who chose to stay home, a very noble profession, stay home and raise kids, and the husband was the higher earner. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we're getting into some claiming strategies. So this is a really good topic, and we'll try not to go too far on a scenario basis, but I like to look at it as I want to answer the question of, well, I'm a stay-at-home wife and I stopped working before I qualified really for Social Security. Well, that's okay. You do qualify for what's called spousal benefits, and that benefit amount will be up to 50%. So up to is the key word. You have to hit some criteria to get up to that 50%. So if your husband's a higher earner, you are qualified to get that, even though you don't have an earnings history to claim individual for yourself. So Social Security is looked at on an individual basis. So what I like to look at is a good example of a household. We'll take 2 couples, husband and wife, and they're similar in age. Maybe they're a little bit older or not. And the husband decides he's in this example going to be the higher earner. So he's decided he's going to wait till age 70 to max it out to help with survivor benefits as well. Well, the wife actually does have an earnings history that qualifies for individual benefits. So how are we going to look at this strategy here? Well, if we look at the wife's individual, say it is less than the spousal benefit would be, because the husband's going to wait till age 70. The spousal benefits are going to be higher than her individual. Well, what the wife can do is claim an individual, and then when the husband claims at age 70, she will claim spousal benefits at the same time, thus getting an addition to the household income that way. So that is a claim. That's an example of a claiming strategy where the total household income is actually higher. So when we look at it from a household basis, as in practice, we're looking at the total household income to meet expenses in retirement. That is an example of the wife being able to start Social Security on a specific type of claiming while getting a additional amount in the future when her husband claims, thus creating a more cumulative income to the family. So that's one good example for a household proclaiming strategy.
That can get really complicated, and you're right, everybody's situation is not the same. And, we as financial advisors have some really fancy software that can project some things and calculate some things, but not everybody has that. So I think the place to start, if you're trying to make a decision on this, is and I would recommend, no matter how old you are, go to the Social Security website. It's SSA.gov for Social Security Administration, SSA.gov, and register to get your statements. And there's a wealth of information that you can get there as well. So I would encourage you to do that. It's going to be a crucial part of retirement planning. Well, folks, we got to take a break, but we hope that you're going to stick with us because we've got more to come here at Financial Issues. Learn more about our ministry at financialissues.org.
Today, it's easy to get caught up in the rush and forget about what really matters. But when it comes to your money, are you making decisions that truly reflect your values? Too often, we invest in stocks without knowing what they stand for. What if your money could speak for what you believe in? Imagine following an investment strategy that recommends companies that don't support the things that break the heart of the Lord. A steadfast strategy, never wavering from biblical truth. When your investments align with your values, your money speaks for you. Let your money do the talking. Invest in what matters to you. Because biblical values matter, even when investing. Visit financialissues.org to learn more. That's financialissues.org.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Welcome back to Financial Issues. We're so glad that you're still with us today as we talk about being a good steward with everything that the Lord has trusted us to manage. Well, it's that time of the show. Let's get to some questions that have come in on social media and through the website.
Yeah, I love it, Shana. Let's start here with Brandon, young partner, good friend of ours. Brandon is down between 10 and 30% in the following stocks: F60, MA59, MA34, E24, and CD44. Do you see any good opportunities with those stocks for him to average down, or should he just stick to things on the buy list for now? Also, do you have any good tips on knowing when a stock is a good candidate to average down? He says, my portfolio has been doing well overall. I'm just not sure what the best course is to take with some of these specific stocks, and he's 23.
Mm-hmm. Well, kudos to you, Brandon, for getting started at age 23. That is good. Very good. So we're so proud of you here, and we hope that this encourages more young people to get involved. You're gonna do great. So, average down in a position. There are not every time. buy into a stock, is it going to go straight up? In fact, that's probably rarely going to be the case. There's typically, stocks typically move in cycles, and from time to time they go down. Some for good reasons, some for not so good reasons. So I can tell by looking that none of the stocks that you mentioned are ones that we have suggested that you sell. So that means that they are a hold. Averaging down in a position is when you are, the price goes down from where you bought it, and you put more money in, the same amount of money that you have currently invested. You put that same investment back in to lower your cost basis. And, so basically what you have to remember is that you only reduce your cost basis by about half of the percentage that you're down. So if you're only down 10%, averaging down is only going to reduce your cost basis by 5%. Whereas if you were down 50% in a stock, in a position, and then you average down, you would reduce your cost basis by 25%. So it's much more beneficial to do that averaging down, if you're down a whole lot more than 10%, more on the 30% range. So I don't know which of those positions you're down 10% and which are down 30%, but I would lean to maybe the one that is down the most. And then you really kind of have to make a decision on the individual stock. If you're going to average down only one time, you want to do that at the most beneficial time. Now, it's not very likely that you'll ever know if a stock is experiencing a downturn. It's not very likely that you'll ever know ahead of time where the bottom is. But because you're only going to do it once, you kind of want to, have it be a position that you're down significantly in, and you kind of want to wait till the stock price stabilizes. So one key indicator that could mean that the price is stabilizing is the 30-day trajectory of the stock. So if you look at the last 30 days and the chart is moving in the upward and right direction, then that might be another vote of confidence that you could go forward with the averaging. Of the particular ones that you mentioned, if I were going to do it now, which I probably would just wait, but if I were going to do it now, it would probably be the MA59 or the E24.
Nice, Shana. Good stuff. Menda is up next here, a good friend, saying, Shana, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I don't see much on the buy list. And you said recently, with the recent buy list, with MA40 being on it, you felt very convinced about selling some of these stocks. Since I have a lot of cash right now, nothing much in materials, and I'm getting a fairly good dividend from MA40, my question is, does this company violate BRI principles? I need some materials in my portfolio. Thanks again for covering this yet again. What can you give for Menda here, Shana?
Yeah. So MA40, the reason that we issued the sell was not for biblically responsible reasons. So, if you're really wanting to keep that, if you have reasons that you want to keep it, you would be okay from a BRI standpoint. You also could, off the top of my head, I think cash is paying a better dividend than that particular stock right now. So, it wouldn't hurt just to wait in cash until there is, something else on the buy list. Also, I know that there are things on the buy list right now that definitely have a better income than MA40. So if you're light in other sectors, let's say your preferreds or the REITs or something like that, then you could go to the buy list and go ahead and fill that and just wait for another material stock.
Good stuff, Shana. Up next is Chris, age 54. He's in the 45 to 55 model, seeing the last buy commentary, only buy recently new stocks. If you have more than 20% in cash, that's from last week. Does this 20% include fixed income, mutual funds, or CDs, or are you just talking about the money market cash? What do you think for Chris?
Really just the money market. Chris is 54. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it would be prudent to be a little bit heavier in cash right now. I know it appears that there's been a V bottom in, what was a quick and sort of severe drop in the market when we got those softer economic numbers out earlier this month, but I'm not convinced that the market is that the economy is moving in the right direction, and I think there's a lot of things on the horizon that could create a lot of downside volatility in the markets for now. So that's where we're coming from.
Yep. Awesome. Susan's up next. Susan's not a partner, but she has a good question, seeking some advice. She says, my husband has retired from an ESOP last year, and his retirement stock funds will be available soon. We're not sure how to roll over or transfer these funds to pay a lesser taxation and still provide a monthly income. 55 years old, still have children at home. Thanks so much for your help in this matter. Shana, what help do you have for Susan? And maybe for our listeners as well, just explaining what an ESOP is too.
Yeah, so an ESOP is a type of employer-sponsored plan where they offer you some stock option. That's a very basic explanation of it. 401ks and other types of retirement plans are more widely offered by employers, so we won't spend a whole lot of time talking about that. But, Susan, I'm glad that you're listening. I'm glad that you're hopefully considering becoming a partner. But if everything in your plan, it depends on the taxability of it. So if it's all pre-tax money that you're dealing with, the most tax-efficient way to process that is going to be to set up an IRA account, a traditional IRA account, and process a rollover into that account. Then you have, basically, if you do it at a discount brokerage account, in a discount brokerage account, IRA, then you have the sky's the limit as far as the investment options that are out there. You can become a partner, look at our asset allocation models, and actually build your own biblically responsible strategy or investment portfolio. So you have to find out about the taxability of the money that's in the account right now. I would not mix pre-tax and after-tax money in an IRA. If you have the opportunity to separate that out, that is definitely a good time to take that opportunity.
Good stuff, Shana. Adam is up next here, 51 years old, saying, Shana, I'd like your perspective on what not to invest in with one's Roth IRA, i.e. that would cause tax implications. What do you think?
Well, the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that would potentially create tax implications, and it's the same as if you purchase these in a traditional IRA as well, is the MLPs or the master limited partnerships. You could, because they are partnerships, they have UTBI, which is unrelatable taxable business income that you could potentially have to pay taxes on if you hold them in an IRA. But I don't even really see that as a huge reason to avoid them. What I would focus on in my Roth, because of the preferential tax treatment, as long as you meet all the qualifying conditions for a Roth, and they're very, easy to meet. Once you've met those, then you have tax-free growth. And so in that particular account, whereas you might not have, you don't have tax-free growth in other types of accounts like traditional IRAs and even just non-qualified investment accounts. So I would take the opportunity to put the highest growing pieces of the portfolio, the most aggressive things. Those are going to be things like your healthcare stocks, your growth stocks that don't pay any dividends. Maybe they're small caps or mid caps, or maybe it's going to be a healthcare stock or some type of financial stock that is really aggressive. So I would use the opportunity to get the most tax-free growth that you can, the most tax help, which is to put those aggressive investments in the Roth account and use your other accounts for different pieces of your portfolio.
Great stuff, Shana. Never enough time, as always. Busy show today.
Good stuff. Well, folks, we are at the end of the program today. My time has flown. So, Lord willing, we're going to be back tomorrow to help you put your biblically responsible investment strategy in place and help you be a good steward of everything that the Lord has trusted you to manage, because it's all His. And we want you to hear those fateful words one day. Well done, good and faithful steward. So until we're back with more financial issues, you can find out more about our ministry at financialissues.org.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.